These meetings usually last a couple hours, so. Okay, we're going to begin the Planning Committee meeting of Akron City Council on time. Well, I blew it. It's 1:31. It's not 1:30. Close enough. But at this point, I'd like to entertain a motion that we accept the minutes of the last meeting.
Motion to accept the minutes of the last meeting.
Is there a second? I'll second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. The ayes have it. So, with that, we have 3 items, I do believe, that's up for a public hearing this afternoon. For those that are here for the public hearing, we'll let you know the procedures. What we'll do is ask those who are in favor this afternoon to speak on the subject of the conditional use or the public hearing. Those in favor, and then we'll ask those that are against to speak as well. And what we'll do then is repeat that basically this evening at 7 o'clock, and everyone would be invited for that 7 o'clock meeting, after which, after the public hearing is concluded this evening, the committee will then make a recommendation to all of council on the conditional use request, either to approve, disapprove, or to take time, table, or refer the item. However, though, in both cases, in terms of both public hearings, we're going to ask that anyone who is here that wishes to speak to the committee in reference to these items to please stand and be sworn in by a representative of our law department at this time. A representative of our law department. Anybody? Cool. Yeah, all you got to do is just raise your hand and be sworn in.
Yeah, if you would, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, say I do. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Very good. So we have 3 items, in essence, that are up for a public hearing today. And the first one of which is a resolution approving the renewal application of Kent Shively to have property at 495 Hickory Street placed in an agricultural district.
Mr. Chairman, committee members, Kent Shively is requesting renewal for an additional period of 5 years for agricultural district designation for his property at 495 Hickory Street. Kent Shively has 5.67 acres of land devoted for agricultural use. Agricultural designation will provide financial benefits in the form of property tax relief.
Thank you, Mr. Antonucci. At this time, we'll open up the public hearing and ask if there's anyone here that wishes to speak in favor of the proposed agricultural use on Hickory Street to please come forward. If you could provide for us your name and address, we'd appreciate that.
I'm Kent Shively, 495 Hickory Street, and I just want to continue my agricultural use. I was told that some of my paperwork isn't correct, and I talked to my accountant who she admitted that she screwed up my paperwork. So is there a way I can get that in at a later date?
Mr. York.
As this application is now filed, it is not a complete application.
Okay.
Because it's less than 5 acres, it has to be accompanied by financial records.
Okay.
I'm sorry, less than 10 acres.
So we could take time until his accountant's able to fix?
Right. In the last 2 periods when he sought renewals, which was in 2009 and 2014, he did provide evidence of income, so council was able to take a look at that. So if he gets it in now, it's something council could consider.
Okay, Mr. Shively? Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Does that mean that I come to the night meeting, or?
You don't necessarily have to come this evening. Given the circumstances of your testimony, we'll, in all likeliness, take time this evening. So it's not required for you to take time or to come this evening. However, though, if you can get that information into Mr. Antonucci from our planning department, the income information, we'd appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Very good. Is there anyone else here wishing to speak in favor of the conditional use request at 495 Hickory Street? Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak against? Anyone against? Anyone? Very good. Hearing none, we'll now open it up to the committee for questions. Any questions or comments reference the 495 Hickory Street Agricultural Use District? Hearing or seeing no questions or comments, we'll now move on to item number 2, which is authorizing conditional use to construct a new office building and additional signage at 544 White Pond Drive. Mr. Antonucci.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. Gino Fasciana is requesting to demolish the existing office building at 544 White Pond and replace it with a new, larger, 3-story office building in the same location. Proposed office building would be situated in exactly the same location as the existing office buildings at 544 White Pond, although on a larger building footprint. The 3-story structure would provide 42,756 square feet of office space and will have a facade of brick, aluminum composite panels, and glass. Parking for 71 vehicles, including handicapped, would surround the structure upon completion. After construction, 554 White Pond, located directly to the west, would be demolished to expand the parking area, bringing the total number of parking spaces up to 113. The demolition and construction of a new building is part of the modernization effort by the property owner to enhance the viability of this office complex. The White Pond Drive interchange of I-77 has become one of the premier office park locations in the city, and the property owner continually reinvests in the property to ensure that it stays modern and relevant among other office complexes in the region. Both Planning Commission and Planning staff recommend approval, subject to conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Antonucci. Is there anyone here wishing to speak in favor of the conditional use request on White Pond Drive? Anyone wishing to speak in favor? If you can please provide for us your name and address, we'd appreciate it.
Hi, yes, my name is Kevin O'Malia, and I'm with MPG Architects. I think Mr. Antonucci covered all the basics. Basically, at this time, it's a speculative office building, so there won't be any tenants until he starts to fill up the space. So there's a minimal impact on the parking, which will be addressed down the road when he demolishes the building next door.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Anyone else here wishing to speak in favor of the conditional use request on White Pond? Anyone wishing to speak in favor? Anyone? Okay. Anyone wishing to speak against the conditional use requests here on White Pond Drive? Anyone against? Very good. Hearing none, I will invite you back again this evening at 7 o'clock if you'd like to attend for the second public hearing today. The next item that is up for a public hearing is authorizing a conditional use to construct a Chipotle Mexican grill at the northeast corner of the intersection of George Washington Boulevard and East Waterloo Road.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. Property Acquisitions LLC is requesting permission to construct a Chipotle Mexican Grill restaurant at this location. The 2 acres of land would be subdivided such that the west portion would accommodate the new Chipotle restaurant, and the eastern lot would be reserved for future development. The proposed development includes a 2,300 square foot building with a drive-through and pickup window on the west side of the building, which is a new model for this area, having the drive-through addition. Seating for 43 people inside, an outdoor patio with seating for 24 on the south side of the building, and parking for 48 vehicles surrounding the structure. Exterior construction materials would include materials similar to the restaurant chain's typical palette of concrete, mason, glass, and metal panels. Ingress and egress would be at the northwest corner of the site, with an additional access drive extending along the front of the future development parcel to the southeast corner. Planning staff is of the opinion that the proposed restaurant development would not be out of character with the surrounding uses and should have a positive impact on the neighborhood. Other retail uses at this heavily traveled intersection also receive conditional use approval, including the Circle K and the Get-Go across the street. Both Planning Commission and Planning staff recommend approval, subject to conditions.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone here wishing to speak in favor of the conditional use request on the corner of George Washington Boulevard and East Waterloo? Yes, sir.
Hi, Bob Abramovich from Property Acquisitions LLC. Mr. Antonucci hit all the high points. I brought along some site plans and elevations. If you'd like, I can show them. And
sure,
walk
yes,
through them real
please.
quick. All right, so the northeast corner of George Washington and 224, essentially we're purchasing the hard corner as well as about 1.2 acres from Mr. Joyce. So these two properties will be combined and then lot split again. So we have about 1 acre on the hard corner here, and then we'll have about 1 to 1.2 acres of future additional development immediately to the east. The drives that Mr. Antonucci described, proposed right in, right out, which I've been working with City of Akron Traffic on for a couple months at this location, and then the access point on 241, we pushed as far north as we could away from the intersection on that side. So internally, both this property and this property will share a common access drive off of 224, and we'll have a reciprocal easement agreement between the two properties. There'll also be access around back, so at the end of the day, when it's completed or fully developed, it'll share common access drives. Chipotle is roughly 2,300 square feet, as Mr. Antonucci described. It's what they call their new fast lane concept, so you can order ahead, pull into the drive-thru, not get out of your car, pick up your food, and leave. The parking for roughly 48. There will be a small patio out front, and then we're currently evaluating signage, perhaps shared signage for both lots along 224. I'll just flip through here real quick. There's a close-up of the site plan. Do the traditional hedgerow between the parking or at the end of the head installs in the streets. Dumpster enclosure in the rear, or northeast corner of the lot. There's elevations there, prototype. The white is all EFS, drive it. They do a charcoal colored storefront. These are a charcoal colored metal panel system, and then a red accent metal panels just past the drive-thru.
Very good.
Have any
Thank
other?
you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here wishing to speak in favor of the conditional use request? Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Okay. Anyone wishing to speak against? Anyone wishing to speak against this proposal on George Washington and Waterloo? Anyone against? Very good. Hearing none, is there any questions or comments? I'm sorry, Mr. Hook. Ms. Amobian's on the committee, so. Ms. Amobian.
You got a couple questions.
Sir, excuse me, I didn't recall your name, but this is a freestanding Chipotle?
Yes,
This
ma'am.
is-
Single tenant freestanding.
It's kind of like the first one in this area?
It probably will be, yeah. There's one in Reynoldsburg, I know right now. There's going to be some others popping up. I actually saw an article, I think online on Fox 8 maybe, that it actually over the weekend that talked about Chipotle going to more of these drive-thrus. So you'll see more of them popping up, but as far as I know, it'll be the first one in this area.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Hoke, I see you had a, this is Mr. Hoke.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Being that this is in the ward, and I took the information and the mapping and everything and threw it out on Facebook to let everybody know what was coming, and nothing but positive from all the in all the responses that came back, and on Facebook, and when you put something out there and it tells you how many people were reached. With this particular, it went out to over 30,000 people, and there's a lot of people that live out around there and travel through there. And 224 is highly traveled. There's a lot of traffic, and I'm not surprised that finally somebody has looked at that and found that with the land available that there's room for development there, and there's a lot more room for development there, and I hope that we see many more coming in, and I thank Chipotle for coming in and getting in there, and like Mrs. Mobian, asked about the new concept, and I also saw that on the TV report over the weekend, and it's very exciting. So, yeah, all in favor of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hope. Any further questions or comments? Very good. And we'll invite you back this evening as well. And we'll make a recommendation at that time. The meeting's at 7 o'clock. Now we'll go on to the balance of the agenda here. Item number 4 is the Capital Investment and Community Development Program, legally referred to as the Capital Investment Program. We do, in fact, have an amendment, I believe, or a substitute offered as an amendment, which is referred to as item number, it's in here, 6. I'll read that in, just for the record. Adopting, this is item number 6 under your new legislation. It's a substitute offered as an amendment. And it says, adopting the 2019 Capital Investment Community Development Program, legally referred to as the Capital Investment Budget. There is some, as you will notice, some adjustments here made to this particular budget. One of which is the concrete restoration program. We're recommending that we're going to spend $50,000. That's the change in terms of that, which I believe is a reference a study that's going to be done as opposed to the work. Correct, Mr. Luttle?
Correct. We're going to look at doing with those funds is doing a study on our concrete pavement and what we can do. And currently, we're involved with something with Akron U. So we're doing a test thing right on Wolf Ledges, where they're going to test a product and we're going to test a product. So that $50,000 is going to fund some of that and some of the other studies we're doing with concrete restoration.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Next one is safe routes to school. Is there a... you can ask if you have a question on that particular item on the concrete restoration program.
Yeah, just curious, what had we planned to do? Because you're eliminating, what,
Sure.
450,000. What had we planned to do?
We are going to take those other funds and put them in snow and ice equipment. And one of the things we are going to do with that money is we currently are looking to buy plows and spreaders for our 1-ton trucks, and we'd like to put one of those in each ward, because currently what happens when we have a snow event and we're in primary, secondaries, and then if it snows so much residentials, we always have those requests by residents. So by putting a 1-ton truck with a plow and spreader in each ward to handle all those residential requests, and they can assist with the primary and secondary. And these 1-ton trucks will not, we already have the trucks, so it's buying the spreaders and the plows to put one in each ward. And these trucks do not require a CDL licensed driver. Now, they will have to go through our snow and ice training, but we could put maybe someone from building maintenance, somebody from traffic engineering, another department to help us fill in these wards.
So where would you store it?
They're stored currently at Public Works. So Parks has these trucks, Highway has these trucks, some of our patch trucks, some of our trucks that we haul dirt in, like in the summertime.
So it'd just be deployed from that location?
Yes.
Okay, well, sounds good.
So that's what the concrete restoration funds are going to primarily go toward, the equipment replacement for snow and ice?
Yes.
That's correct? Okay, very good. Mr. Neal, do you have a question about something?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The concrete restoration program, you mentioned the University of Akron. For a long period of time, we had a gentleman coming down here talking about some new way of utilizing concrete. Is this any way connected?
Roller compacted concrete is what he was talking about, I believe.
Yeah, I was just asking, is this connected in any way to what he was talking about?
Not really, no.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Safe Routes to School is another program. I don't know if anyone's here to speak on this particular item that was adjusted. Ms. Tomek?
That particular program was not funded, so we removed it from the budget for 2019.
Okay, very good. Equipment
I
replacement?
couldn't hear you, which is,
Okay, Ms. Amobian?
no, I
You have a
couldn't hear what you
question?
said.
Okay.
The program was not funded, so we removed it from the 2019 budget.
So
You mean the other sources of funding didn't materialize, is that what you mean?
Correct. The application was applied for, and we did not receive funding.
It's an ODOT program.
ODOT. Okay, very good. And then we have equipment replacement. I see a $40,000 adjustment in reference to that. I assume that was also utilized for the snow and ice. The snow and ice removal, of course, Mr. Little had mentioned, that was this was part of the discussion in reference to the committee, the snow removal committee. It's part of the discussion was about the equipment itself and how we need to probably begin, and I would ask the department to kind of like look at a replacement schedule altogether for the long run as well, like every year looking at replacement and so on and so forth. But this is a great start, I think, $250,000 in terms of snow and ice removal, so that's a positive. Eastwood Pumping Station improvements, that
No,
was,
you skipped one, Mr. Chair.
oh, I don't believe I did I? Where would that be?
The equipment replacement, the 1.6.
Oh, the snow and ice removal that we've been talking? Is
Above that one.
Okay, equipment replacement, yeah, we mentioned there's a $40,000 reduction in that was utilized for the snow and ice removal as well.
Oh, that's where that
Yeah,
went.
that reduction is now going to the snow and ice removal equipment. Okay. Ms. Sims?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just too quickly. It looks like the reduction, say, in the concrete and both the equipment replacement is about $750,000. And it looks like we're putting $250,000 in ice, snow and ice. Where's the balance of that? The second question is
Special assessments.
a special,
Yeah, if we don't do those particular
It's just
projects,
split.
there would be special assessments.
Okay.
So therefore, if we don't do them, we won't collect them, in terms of the concrete
Okay.
restoration.
thank you. The other, on safe routes to school, we have no funding in that, so that's like caboose. We're not doing that, or have we?
We're in various stages, so when we applied for the 2019 money, this was not awarded, but we will continue implementing what was currently awarded and continue applying in the future.
So we still have
Yes.
resources to
Yes.
continue? Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Okay, very good, thank you. Okay, now onward to the Eastwood Pumping Station improvements. That was $187,000. That was from Water Sewer RLF.
This- During our hearings, we've
Fun.
discovered this project was actually completed in 18,
Okay.
so we removed it.
Gotcha, okay. That one's completed. And then Water Main Replacement Program 18, that was also removed.
Yes, there was some concerns with the year. We're currently implementing the 2017 program in 19, so this will be captured later.
Okay, very good. Thank you. So those are the overall adjustments in terms of the capital budgets that's proposed this evening. The overall budget, I see Mr. Neal and then Ms. Mobian.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a question. So the Eastwood Pumping Station and the water main replacement, since we're not doing those, how are those funded? Were those coming out of our water fund or anything, or those dollars?
Yep.
Since
Well,
we're not doing
the
this project.
the Eastwood project is actually completed.
Right.
So those funds have been spent.
Okay.
So this
we
was
are-
just an error on our part in entering that.
Okay. Where were those funds coming from, though, when we thought we were going to do the project?
WSRLF, Water
Yes.
Sewer.
Right, so were those funds coming from our water fund, or,
Those were loan funds, loans.
oh, they were loans?
So it's less amount of loans that we're going to apply
And
for.
so that's the same for the 3.3?
Yep.
I was going to say, to be paid by our water fund.
Yeah.
It would be water funds.
But we were going to get a loan initially? To the- Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mobian.
I think that was my question. So the 187,000, you don't have to borrow that money, is that what you're saying? And the 3.3 mil, you borrowed it and spent it? Is that what you're saying? Is that what happened?
Yes, that money was already loaned to us, and we spent it on the Eastwood project, so we
okay.
have payments now on that money.
And the other 3.3 mil, is that the same?
I'm sorry?
The 3.3 mil, is that the same?
We're still implementing the 2017 program. Carryover. from-
Carryover, in
yes.
essence, is what
So
that
those funds will be there for that?
It'll be in future years.
Okay,
is. Carryover.
thank you.
Cool. Any other questions or comments in reference to the amendment, in reference to the entire overall capital budget? Any questions or comments? Mr. Neal?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. You did mention carryover, and I was reading the paper, and I saw how they were talking about Barberton, and they had outlined what were carryover dollars. I thought that was real helpful to understand the budget, what was coming out of taxes for that year, and what were funds that were carried over from the previous year. And then it also outlined if they had to make, do any loans, or in their case, I think they were, doing cuts to try to balance their budget. So just, in looking at this, that's something that's more easily identifiable as far as what's carryover dollars. Because my question here, where we're talking about the water fund, when we initiate the loan, in our regular billing of water bills, how do we calculate what we're going to take out to cover it? Just trying, am I making sense? I mean, we take out a loan, we say we're going to pay for it out of our water fund, right?
We understand how much money is coming in on a yearly basis, and then we budget it based on that number.
So getting an understanding of if we thought we were going to do this year, it came in, we completed it last year. Just getting from my own understanding, just getting an understanding of when we look at the water fund. So we calculated that portion coming out this year.
Well, if we get a loan, it's for the life of the loan. So we budgeted that amount for the life of the loan, including interest, okay? So we don't budget down to zero with all these projects. We always have a fund balance in there, okay? So we look at these projects, we try to go after as many grants as we can, and then we look at what type of interest rate we get, and then we budget it accordingly.
But then the loan amount, I mean, if we don't draw the money, we just pay on what we've drawn, so there's not really any extra funds. It's a matter of us invoicing for a certain amount, and then that money is drawn out of that loan. Sometimes we don't take the full amount.
Yeah, I mean, I could talk to you to get a better understanding, offline. It's just like, it's almost like it's coming from the same place. It's coming from billable accounts, correct? And then we're paying all of our loans out of those billable accounts. So if we budget for that loan and then we don't have to pay it in that year, there should be some reserve in that billable account because we're not paying for a loan that we had planned to pay for. Because it's not like, we got a loan, we're going to raise the rates again. It's all coming out of that general revenue that's coming in. So, but I could talk to you about that offline to get a better understanding.
Okay, very good. Further questions or comments? Ms. Sims?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the water main replacement program, are you saying we're still in 2018? Is that budget amount $3 million still? Or have we spent a portion of that? And what portion of that is carryover? And do we not anticipating having similar costs in 2019?
Let me pull the budget itself. Do you have yours?
Which one is that?
Okay, we showed in the budget, when Water gave it to us, they had a 2017 and 2018 and 2019 program for water main replacement. The 2018 program is actually the 2017 to catch up. So we were duplicating it, showing it twice. So that's why we moved it. So the next contract after 2017 is the 2019 program, which is in the budget for $3.3 million. So we were just double counting because the one is actually...
And this is taking out the 18 budget?
Yes.
Removing it. I do recall, if you don't mind, I do recall whenever we were going through this portion, you guys were basically saying, yeah, well, this is going to be 17. I think we had 18 originally, and then 19, and that's, how it just was, how they mapped it out on the budget. But regardless, I mean, at the end of the day, I think what the takeaway, at least for me, is that we are going to absolutely replace water mains, right? And the plan is, it's an annual plan that is repaid
So
from
just,
this loan.
so in 2017, there was $3 million there that we're using for 2018. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, it'll be used in
And so what
2018.
we asked for in 2018 is 2019, so you don't have to ask for 2019? Is that
No,
what you're saying?
the budget is for 2019.
It's in here, yeah.
It is in here. So we're asking for 2 years of projects this year, not 3.
3, okay.
Because 18 is actually 17 carried over.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions or comments relative to the capital improvement budget? Yes, Ms. Movian?
I don't know if this is a capital improvement budget or if it will fall under public service, but someone could answer this at some point, I guess. I've noticed that on Market Street, for instance, it was well paved, and now we got potholes again. Is that because of the material we're using, or what? Right by Resnick School, there's some bad potholes again, but that was paved and recently.
You guys
Wasn't
can
that paved
deal with that,
recently?
yeah, offline.
Is that
Yeah.
covered in this, or?
Well, yeah, under arterial resurfacing, and we budget money for patching and, yes,
Yeah,
so under our transportation budget in here,
Right.
that is
And I
addressed.
recognize that we use salt or brine or whatever we're using. That's
We'll pull the report when it was paved and get back with you. How's
Okay,
that?
thank you.
And I could tell you, ODOT's got an urban paving program since it's a state route, and Mr. Hewitt tells me either 2020 or 2021 that's scheduled for resurfacing.
Good. Cool. Further questions or comments relative to the capital budget only? Yes, sir.
Capital budget, we had talked about the housing portion of it. I think it was something like 600 and something thousand dollars that we were going to invest.
That was for the housing rehab, for the lead grants and the roofing.
Yeah, the whole rehab portion of it. And I asked, where were the targeted areas for those dollars?
So,
Ms. Tomic?
so we did reach out to the Department of Neighborhoods and made a request of the property owners that were assisted in 2018. We're still looking what that'll look like in 2019. Congress still has not passed the budget for 19, and that won't happen. I'm not sure when it'll happen.
And Councilman Yell, I can tell you that it's, because it's a need-based program and people apply for those funds to be used for, but Ms. Tomic said the Department of Neighborhood Assistance, they're compiling the addresses of where those funds were spent, but it's not a targeted program per se, it's need-based, so it's for lower-income folks.
Okay, I thought we had, I'm flipping through right now, I'm sorry I don't have it. I thought we had a plan, a target area where we were doing some housing.
That's from years ago, so that when we were getting a larger share of funding from HUD, we did have actual rehab areas, but that's been gone for some time now since this is just a grant-based program.
So we don't have, what we have right now is just need-based, it's not targeted to
Correct.
anywhere where we have, I mean, I know in, like, well, the one project in my ward isn't something that the city would be doing, but, well, is our response, yeah, tearing down the school, but all this is need-based, the dollars that we saw. It's nothing targeted rehab in certain areas.
Right, and what we can get you, they're still compiling the data, is just where those funds have actually been spent, but there are not targeted rehab areas.
Yeah, we used to have the
anymore.
community development block grant areas, is that what you're talking about? Where we carved
yeah.
out like a neighborhood and...
We would focus on doing some things. And I know we have you know, things that we're doing with, targeted with different neighborhoods with the CDCs and with homes and target them. That's what I was speaking of as far as our dollars. Do we have those allocated to certain neighborhoods in any kind of way?
Yeah, for the item that's shown in the budget, which is the housing and community services, it's really just those funds through the Department of Neighborhood Assistance, and that's what we're gathering.
Okay, so just a traditional lead-based program?
Right, that's correct.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Cool. All right, further questions or comments? All right, thank you. I'd like to entertain a motion that we, in favor of the amendment, substitute offered as amendment in reference to the 2019 Capital Investment Community Development Block Grant Program, I'd like to entertain a motion.
Motion for approval as an emergency?
Yes. Because it's a substitute, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a motion to approve with suspension of the rules. Is there a second? Second. All those, pardon? Yeah, well, the substitute requires that. Yeah, it's a substitute. Thank you. Thank you. We have a motion and a second, Mr. Clerk. All those in favor of the 2019 Capital Investment Community Development Block or Development Program signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Well, no, this is, the substitute deals with the entire program itself, as well as the changes that were proposed within the program. So that's what substitute, adopting the 2019 Capital Investment Community Development Development Program, legally referred to as the Capital Investment Budget, is the proposal. But with this, there was a couple changes which is addressed within this. So this is the overall proposed Capital Investment and Community Development Program, which we are required to pass by, is it the 15th?
That's correct.
Yeah, February 15th, so that's what this is. Okay?
Okay, do you want me to do a roll call? I mean, or was it everybody voted yes? Any noes?
I don't think so, but we
Okay.
would.
All right, no, that's fine.
Okay, very good. We'll now move on to the balance of the regular agenda, which is, so, line item number 4, we'll recommend time on 5, 6, 7, I believe 8, 9, 10, 11. Did we already address number 11, Mr. Anthony?
Actually, number 10 was filed adverse. So that's a
filed.
petition for James Brooks. You can file that if council wants.
All right. We'll file item number 10. That's the petition. Item number 11 is a conditional use to establish a child. Did we already deal with that one? No. That's time, correct, on 11? Don't know?
We
Okay.
might hold on.
We'll just
Do
take
that.
time on the balance of the agenda. How's that? We'll make it easier. I'm sorry, 7? No, we did not. Is that scheduled for public hearing, 7? This is the establish a used car lot at 595 Vernon Odom.
Yeah, that's,
Oh, you're talking about new legislation. We're still on the old. That was a substitute. That's why. Yeah. So, but I do know this, I think. 13 can be filed. And that's the, okay, we can file 13. Other than that, I'm going to recommend time on the balance of the agenda, okay? We'll now move on to the new list of legislation, which is item number 3, which is we've already addressed. That was a public hearing, reference 495 Hickory Street. Item number 4 is a conditional use to construct an office building on White Pond. That's the same situation. We just had the conditional use hearing on that one. 5 is conditional use for the Chipotle. We had the public hearing on that one. 6 we addressed. Now 7, this is the one here which Ms. Tomic is here. I'll read it into the record though. Approving and confirming the appointments of Mayor Daniel Horgan, John Moore, Thomas Tatum, Helen Tomic, Councilwoman Veronica Sims, Tara Mosley Samples, Councilman Bob Hoke for the year of 2019 as members of the NEFCO. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, committee members. These are our annual appointments for the 2019 NEFCO, the Northeast Ohio Four-County Regional Planning and Development Organization. As you had indicated, city representatives would be Mayor Horgan, Thomas Tatum, John Moore, and myself, Helen Tomic. And then also council representatives would be Councilman Bob Hoke, Councilwoman Veronica Sims, and we are going to have to ask time and introduce a substitute amendment replacing Councilwoman Tara Mosley Samples with Councilman Rich Swirsky. Thank you.
Okay, very good. So that's the proposal here at this time. So I assume our law department, friends, our law department will prepare a substitute for this one?
I have the substitute.
Oh, do you have it with Mr. Swirsky on it?
Is that correct? One you gave me? Okay, I do have the substitute.
Okay, so the only change will be to replace Ms. Samples with Mr. Swirsky, correct? That's the only change. So everyone's very clear on this. We don't have it in front of us, but we'll have it this evening, I'm sure.
Right.
So is there any questions on the substitute offered as an amendment, I guess? Any questions? Okay, very good. Is there a motion to suspend the rules with a favorable report? Is there a second? You guys second? With suspension, yeah. Suspension of the rules. Yes, yes, that would replace Ms. Samples with Mr. Swirsky. So that's the second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. The ayes have it. Okay, very good. Okay, that's item number 7 we will take care of. And that's it. So, we're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and move forward, calling the public service meeting to order, please. All members are present except for our chairwoman, Marilyn Keith. We did hold a meeting last week, and can I get approval of those minutes, please? All in favor? Anybody opposed? All right. So our first piece of legislation authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts after advertising for bids for the purchase and application of asphaltic, concrete, pavement removal, and riser rings for various streets in the 2019 resurfacing program, ulterior and collector street resurfacing, including alternates and improving specs, therefore, and declare an emergency. We have with us John Moore, Service Director, and Deputy Service Director Chris Lettle.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, this would allow us to advertise for bids for our arterial and collector resurfacing program.
All right, that's it, thanks. Any questions, committee members? Council members?
We would
What's your,
appreciate suspension of the rules because we're off next week. The
All
earlier
right.
we start, the better price we think we'll get.
We have a motion, a second. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? All right, we'll suspend the rules on that. Our next piece, authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee to enter into contract or contracts after advertising for bids for the purchase and application of asphaltic, concrete, pavement removal, and riser rings for various streets in the 2019 resurfacing program, residential resurfacing, including alternates, approving specs, therefore, and declare an emergency. John Moore.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, this is our residential portion of the resurfacing program. We would appreciate suspension of the rules.
All right. Any questions from committee members, council members? All right. We have a motion and a second. We do have a question. You want to take a vote first, and I can get her a question? All right, let's take a vote real quick. Everybody in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? All right, sorry about that. Ms. Linda Omobian.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Are we going to get a listing of the residential streets that are going to be resurfaced eventually?
Yes, we are still developing that list, but prior to the ordinance that you will need to pass in order to start the program, you will have that list.
Okay, thank you.
Good, thank you. All right, with that, we've already voted on that. We'll move on to the next piece, number 10, authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts after advertising for bids for the purchase and application of asphaltic, concrete, pavement removal, and riser rings for various streets in 2019 resurfacing program, unimproved street resurfacing, including alternates, improving specs, therefore, and declare an emergency. John Moore.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, this is the unimproved street portion of our program, and we would appreciate suspension of the rules.
Unimproved streets. All right. Any questions, committee members, council members? All right, Jeff, I know you're in a hurry. You want to make the motion? On suspension of the rules. Thank you. And we have a second, Mr. Hoke. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? All right, thanks, guys. All right, next one, number 11, authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee to enter into agreement or agreements with neighboring communities and/or the County of Summit for participation and cost sharing in the 2019 resurfacing project, preventative maintenance program, and construction, sealing, and crack filling, and declare an emergency. John Moore.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, this is our portion of the program that deals with the outlying communities where our borders are kind of mingled together. This allows us to enter into agreements with them for crack sealing and general maintenance of our roads.
All right, thank you.
And consent agenda would be fine.
Oh. Well, I got to take questions and stuff first, bud. Any questions or comments, committee members, council members? All right, did you mention?
Consent would be fine.
But, okay. I'll leave it up to the committee. right, so who's making the motion? All right. We have a motion and a second by Bob Hoke. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? All right, John, man, threw in a monkey wrench there. All right, thanks. Number 12, authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee after publicly advertising for bids to enter into a contract or contracts for the purchase of signal support poles on Waterloo Road and declare an emergency.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, the traffic engineering went out and examined all the poles on Waterloo Road between Coventry and Main Street. We found that we needed to do some preventative maintenance on those poles. There's about 20 of them that need replaced. This ordinance would allow us to do that after bidding the project.
Oh, good. What's the time frame you think is on something like that?
We'll complete them this summer. Now, we'll have to put them out to bid, so it'll be a couple months till we get it bid.
Okay, good. Committee members, questions, comments? Council members, questions or comments? All right, what's your pleasure?
Consent would be fine.
We have a motion for consent. We have a second. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? All right, with that, we are adjourned. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very
everyone.
much.
Appreciate it. Move forward with the public safety meeting to order, please. Let's see who's all on public safety. Kamer, Keith is not here, Swirsky, Sims, and Hoke. All right, so we got everyone? Yep, everybody's here, so we're going to move forward with the public safety meeting to order. We do have one new piece of legislation, but I do not have minutes to approve because last week was a presentation that we had, and I approved those minutes, correct? All right, so, yep. All right, when we get it, I'll get it. All right, so, like I said, all members are here except for Councilwoman Keith. We do have only one piece in front of us today, and that's authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into an agreement or agreements for funding through the Ohio Office of Criminal Justice Services 2018 Justice Assistance Grant administered through the state of Ohio, authorizing the expenditure of local funds in support and declaring an emergency. And we have Deputy Mayor of Public Safety with us today, Charlie Brown, and introduce our guest, please.
Yes, sure. Well, thank you. Captain Harding is the Director of Technical Services, and Kel McCullough is a law enforcement planner in his office. And Captain Harding is going to speak to this.
Thanks. Go ahead, Captain.
Hello, thank you for that. So this is we applied for a grant to get some new technology to help us manage training, some accreditation topics as well. Right now, currently we use some Excel sheets, and that this will be a part of OnBase is what we're looking at now, a knowledge management base that we can use and keep track of that information.
Okay. That's it? All right, thanks. We'll see if we have any questions. Committee members, any questions in regards to this for Captain or Deputy Mayor? No? Council members, any questions or comments? Oh, wow. All right. Well, no questions or comments. If you don't have nothing else to say, what's the pleasure?
Suspension is our pleasure. Thank you.
All right. So committee members, do we have a motion for suspension of the rules?
Motion for suspension of the rules.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? All right. Thanks, everyone, for coming down. We're adjourned. Thank you.
Keep up the good work, McCullough.
Today it's been canceled, so we will wait till 3 o'clock for the Budget Committee.